Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here with Carlisle. I've lost 3-2 away from home at Crewe, Alexandra in what is probably the most frustrating and the most aggravating game of football I've ever watched in my life. And look, it was so expected. Even when we were 2-1 up, I didn't think we would win that game. And look, we played better than we did against Accrington Stanley, but the result's completely different. You know, I've seen a lot of people say that that was a better performance today. And look, I'll ask you this, what has it got you? It's got you 700 odd angry Cumbrians and no points away from home, and you're boosting Crewe Alexandra's promotion fight. And the word unlucky, I'm so sick of hearing about luck and us being unlucky or, you know, bad referee decisions or just the idea of luck in general. We've been unlucky for 2 years. When will people start to learn that in football you make your own luck? And we're not doing that. Luck comes from winning second balls. Luck comes from pressing. Luck comes from not making stupid mistakes. Luck comes from having the positive mentality to push forward and just try and create stuff that these players just don't seem to have. Luck isn't a thing. You can't be unlucky in football. You make your own luck. And people say, well, look, the Gabriel Breeze save that wasn't a save. You know, you could argue there's a slight element of fortune to that, but in the grand scheme of things, they scored because they wanted it more. They scored because they kept pushing. They scored because they were solid enough and were, you know, mentally strong enough to stay rigid and push forward and get that goal, get the equaliser, and then get the winning goal as well. Because what I've noticed so much, it's just such a negative mindset I seem to have with the players, and I just think we've got a very mentally weak squad. You look at the likes of some of the top football clubs, and a lot of the football clubs now that do well, when they're recruiting players and when they're scouting players, it comes down to not just who's talented as a footballer, but who has the right personality and the right mentality to succeed. And I just don't think that's been done. And I think a big part of that has to do with signing players that are on the down in their career. We signed, and I've got a list of the summer transfers here, and I'll go through them in a moment. But in fact, I'll let you see if you can see the theme, because it doesn't take a genius. Aaron Hayden, we signed from the league above us, who was on a downward spiral in his career. Jude Smith signed from Newcastle, again taking a step down. Terrell Thomas, we signed from League One, again taking a step down. We signed Ben Williams from a League One team, he's taken a step down. We signed Harrison Biggins from a League One team, on the step down. Bury, who was playing abroad but previously played in the Championship, a downward step in his career. Ethan Robson, League Two, it's a kind of I'll let you have that one. It's a kind of a sideward step, if anything. Charlie Wyke from League One, a downward step. Kadeem Harris from the Turkish League, which I would argue is another downward step. Jordan Jones from League One, a downward step into League Two. Then you've got the signings from the Irish League in Archie Davis, which I would argue is a step in the right direction. And you know, same with Cameron Harper being signed from the Scottish Championship, which I would also argue is a step up. I would also argue that the two best signings on that list are Archie Davis and Cameron Harper, who are the two players I've mentioned were younger players on the up in their career that we've signed and brought into the squad. And that's not even including Dominic Sadie and Daniel Aduaje, who came down from the Premier League on loan. Look, the big trend in them summer signings is that most of them are from the league above, are players who have taken a step down in their career. And you've just got to wonder, you know, yes, them kind of signings get the fans on board, and yes, them kind of signings excite fans, but what you get there is a load of players who were obviously taking a step down for a reason. And if it's the money, it's the money, which we seem to do, you know, we seem to have. But look, a lot of it has to do with the fact that maybe their mentalities aren't good enough to stay in that division. The only reason a player would come down to League Two from League One is if they can't find a club at League One level, if they're not good enough, and if they're on the downwards, if their career's on the down. And there's some young players there, and I do quite like some of the signings still. Like I do like Terrell Thomas when he's fit, which is a big if. And I do quite like the signing of Jordan Jones as well, and Kadeem Harris as well, if we can manage to keep him. But there is a definite theme there of we are definitely signing, or we have definitely signed players that are on the down in their career. And I just think that's got such a big thing to do with the mentality. A lot of it's through injuries, which is another issue entirely. They've come down because we're offering stupidly long contracts, and you see that in Georgie Kelly, Charlie Wyke, Terrell Thomas, Aaron Hayden even, where players have had long injuries and they'll come down to League Two from a higher level. Maybe they are League One standard, but because of the injury and because of their uncertain injury future, if a club offers them a long-term deal like we're doing, then they'll take the step down to come and play in this league. They'll come to have the security of that contract. And if you've got the security of a long-term contract, what are you working towards? If you're here on a 3-year deal, what motivation do you have to try and work towards a new deal? You're here for 3 years regardless. What incentive do you have then? And I'm not. Look, I criticised the 1-year deals when we had them, but at the very least with them players, you got players fighting to stay as professional footballers, and it just seems like we've got so many players that are so mentally weak, and I think it has to, and I think that kind of trend that I've only just kind of noticed with our signings has something to do with it. But yeah, today I think it's it was an incredibly odd starting 11. Jordan Jones and Kadeem Harris, arguably our best players from the game before, both on the bench. People will say that that's because of fitness issues, but I'm not having that. If you're fit enough to be on the bench, you're fit enough to start, in my opinion. Otherwise, they just shouldn't be in the squad at all. Sam Lavelle came into the squad. Who, today, I think we played well. Who would you say are our best players on the day? Because there's 3 in my mind. Who do you think are the best players today? For me, it's Jack Ellis, who obviously got the goal. It's Gabriel Breeze, and it's John Mellish. How many of those signings are new signings? 2 of them are youth academy players, and 1 was signed 4 managers ago. They're the players that are putting in the effort. They're the players that are fighting. They're the players that we seem to be able to having to rely on. It just shows you that recruitment's been an absolute mess, and I don't just mean in the playing side, I also mean in the head coach staff, because I've seen far too many people say that this isn't Mike Williamson's fault, and granted, it is individual mistakes. It's Ben Barkley making a stupid error for the first goal, and it's poor individual defending, but when you're in these kind of situations, when you're winning a must-win game, just look at the teams around us. Every single team that we needed to lose today won. Morecambe won, Accrington Stanley won, and Swindon won. Accrington Stanley and Swindon both winning very late on in the game, and that's because they've got managers that are there to fire up their players. At this end of the table, I don't care about XG, I don't care about passing or pass completion rate or anything like that. And yes, we've got the players to play maybe a slightly attacking brand of football, but I don't care about statistics, I care about results. And the table cares about results. We're not going to get out of the relegation zone because we've got a better XG. Look at FOTMob, the app, it'll show you an XG table, and we're quite high up on it. And it just shows you how stupid that statistic is. Because look at around us, look at Ian Holloway at Swindon. He's a gritty, he's a motivational manager. And if you've got a group of mentally weak players, you need a manager that's going to, really get on top of you, that's going to really hound you if you're doing things wrong, that are really going to try and motivate you and keep you from dropping your standards. And that just isn't what Mike Williamson is. Do you think under Paul Simpson would have lost that game? I think Paul Simpson should have been sacked. But from that position today, when you're 2-1 up going into added time, I reckon every single other team in this league would have won that, because I don't think there's another team in this league that are as mentally weak as us, and we haven't got the manager that can change that, I don't think. Yes, a big thing has to come down to the recruitment, which, let's just say, Will Patching, who's already been announced, renowned for having a poor attitude from the opposition fans, not opposition fans, but the the Derry City fans of where he's coming from. They criticise his attitude, which is just not what we need. And Embleton, another player that fits that career, that fits that pattern, I should say, of a player coming down a league because he wants the security of a long-term contract after an injury. It's just some of the decisions that the club's making, really, I just can't get my head round. I mean, I'm sitting here tearing my hair out because, look, Embleton might be good, Will Patching might be good. It's a new director of football, and I'm more than willing to give his signings a chance because look, he'll know a lot more than me. But what it looks like so far is the exact same mistakes being made, and I just look at that. Look at you've got a manager there. The way things are done at the club now seems to be done a lot on statistics. Look at them statistics. Look at the signings we've made. How many of the signings that are coming down from a higher league because they want a longer term contract, because they want the money, how many of them have worked out? Why haven't we signed a single up-and-coming National League player? Or not even up-and-coming, but a player whose career is on an upward trajectory, I should say. A National League player who's having a really good season, or like an Archie Davis who's had a good season, like Cameron Harper who's had a good season and is coming into a higher level, who's bringing that momentum with them, not somebody who's on the down like a lot of the players have been. It's something I haven't seen mentioned a lot, and I know people are just saying the exact same things every single week, but I thought I'd try and bring something new to the table and say that that's a theme there, that's a pattern there that I haven't seen many people talk about, and it goes back to the last transfer window as well, by the way. Just think about Georgie Kelly. That signing is the exact... It's the player that epitomises this issue entirely as one player. But yeah, it's today at one point, going into the 90th minute there, we were out of the relegation zone, and now we're 4 points from safety. We're bottom of the league on 18 points, and you know what? We deserve to be. Because if you can't hold out for 7 minutes, if you can't not concede 2 goals in 7 minutes, mind you, the equaliser was disappointing. The winner was just infuriating. If you can't hold out for that, then there's something seriously wrong with the club. There's something seriously wrong with the mentality of the players, and there's something seriously wrong with the people who were put in charge to try and fix that mentality, who are there to try and motivate the players, and I mean the coach and stuff in that. There's something seriously wrong, and it's really, really scary. Look, Accrington Stanley was paper over the cracks. We didn't play well, and we were probably the worst team, but we won, and I do like that. And like I said, you make your own luck, and we won for a reason. But if we play any other team other than Accrington Stanley, it seems you go into games expecting to lose, and the players go into games expecting to lose, and something needs to be done drastically. But yeah, let me know what you think, because today was just a horrendous day for football, not just in our game, but the games around us as well. So let me know what you think. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.